If you haven't noticed how SUVs have become the must-have accessories on the nation's driveways, then where have you been? But if you're hankering after the keys of one, which one should you buy?
Well, to help you decide, we've brought along 4 of our favourites. We've got 2 Brits and we've got 2 Germans. So we have the Jaguar F-Pace, its cousin, the Land Rover Discovery Sport, and we've also got the Mercedes GLC and the BMW X3.
All of the cars we're testing have got similarly sized diesels under their bonnets, and they all cost around the same money. We're going to compare what they're like to drive, how practical they are, and of course, what you get for your money.
Well, when it comes to the looks batch, I don't think you can deny that this is the prettiest car here. It's just lovely, isn't it?
It's absolutely gorgeous. But don't forget, the Mercedes GLC, what with its curves, it looks really expensive. I like it.
I do. I think it looks really distinctive on the road, definitely. And another car that I think looks expensive in the market is this, Discovery Sport.
Yes.
One thing I really like about it is the way you can get the contrasting roof to the body colour. I think it really works, makes it stand out on the road.
No, I take all of that, but my concern is that this looks just like all the other Land Rovers and all the other Range Rovers they do. It's not distinctive enough.
Okay, I've heard that said before by others who agree with you. I do think it's more distinctive than the BMW X3 though. Look, it's a great car, it's got that lovely grille and the badge that people love on the front.
But it's starting to look old though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
And whilst this M Sport trim looks really nice, and in isolation, the X3 is a good looking car, but when you park it next to this lot, it looks a little bit too old.
But don't forget, beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
True.
But like I always say, it's the interior that for me is the most important part of a car, which is essentially aimed at family driving.
But because these are premium SUVs, Ginny, they also need to have an interior to match their badges and price tags. The Mercedes gets off to a good start with its interior because it feels special with its mix of artificial wood trim and aluminium inlays. The entry-level SE has most of the bases covered with 17-inch alloys, a parking camera, privacy glass, cruise control and Artico leather seats, which is fake leather to you and me. But you'll want to go for a larger infotainment screen like we have here, which costs more money, and so does real leather upholstery.
You don't have that problem with the X3 though. All BMWs these days come with sat-nav, and it's combined with BMW's excellent iDrive system, which is the easiest infotainment system to use from the 4 cars here. The X3 also has the best quality cabin, just beating the GLC, and comes with rear leather seats that are heated up front, ambient lighting, front and rear parking sensors and an electric tailgate. Whilst it's all very well made and it's easy to get a comfortable driving position, the X3's interior does feel a little gloomy.
The Jaguar F-Pace has the most sports car-like interior thanks to the high centre console and how you seem to sit a little lower in the F-Pace than the other cars here. The standard in-control infotainment system is decent enough, but it's overshadowed by the Merc and the BMW, although it is worth upgrading to the in-control Pro system. You get a wide screen, great graphics and a much slicker operating system. Standard kit includes sat-nav, Wi-Fi, lane departure warning, leather seats, autonomous emergency braking and a powered tailgate. Interior quality is mostly fine, but not as good as the BMW or Mercedes.
Meanwhile, in the Land Rover, there's a fantastic blend of luxury and functionality. Standard kit is okay. The SE version gets 18-inch alloys, part leather seats that are heated in the front and parking sensors, but you do have to upgrade to SE Tech to get sat-nav and a powered tailgate, both of which of course are extremely useful for family driving. The HSE Luxury isn't worth the extra money, but you do get this upgraded 10.2-inch touchscreen. It's just a shame that the quality of the materials doesn't feel better in places, and the design inside is also a little functional. But the Land Rover does feel more special than the BMW.
So the BMW has the best built interior, the Mercedes feels the most special, the Jaguar the most sporty, and the Land Rover offers the best blend of luxury and functionality. But what about room in the back?
Now, it goes without saying, that all four of these cars are easy to get into because of that raised ride height that you get with an SUV. And they all have fantastic knee room, they all have split folding rear seats for added practicality, and they've all got 2 ISOFIX points here in the back. However, the Discovery Sport and also the F-Pace do have a slightly more usable middle seat. Now, where the Jaguar does lose points is in head height. You get that lovely sloping roofline, but it does impact on how much room you've got inside. And another place this scores highly on is this little trick. Look, I love this. The seats just slide back and forward for added practicality. And there is a reason for that.
Because, Ginny, there are 2 seats back here. Now, the Discovery Sport can come in 5-seater format or in 7-seater format. If you go for the 7 seats, it's actually quite practical back here. When I say practical, it's nice for children because these seat bases are on the floor. I haven't got a huge amount of knee room and I've got very little headroom. So for an adult, it's very uncomfortable back here. So, Ginny, would you mind letting me out? Ginny?
Thanks for that, Ginny. So, to round up, Land Rover's clever 7 seats and the Jaguar's sloping roofline aside, the Mercedes and BMW both have similar levels of head and legroom, which is more than adequate, and sitting in the back certainly doesn't feel claustrophobic. All these cars are designed with families in mind, so they all score points in the boot. The Jaguar nudges ahead with the largest, but its sloping tailgate means it's the other 3 that have better shaped boots. All of them have nice touches like extra storage places, while in the Land Rover you can choose between 5 seats and a large boot, or a small boot and 7 seats like we have here.
So, Bash, we've started off with the BMW. What do you think?
Well, I think even though it's the oldest car we've got here, it's still very good indeed. The steering is sharp and accurate, the car doesn't roll about through corners. It is still an incredibly good car, despite the fact it is getting on a little bit.
I've got to say, from my side, sitting here in the passenger seat, it's very comfortable actually as well, despite your dodgy driving.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Seriously, you do like this, don't you? I can tell.
Yeah, I do like it. But interestingly, you mentioned ride. It's not quite as good in this particular format. We've got the M Sport, and the ride quality is not as good as the 3 other cars. So if you're going to go for an M Sport, you've really got to go for the adaptive dampers, and they cost around £680. And then you get something that looks sporty and then rides very well also. But the best thing about this car is the engine. It's easily got the smoothest and the quietest engine out of all of the cars here. It's the 2-litre diesel engine. It's got a lot of power, and yet it doesn't make itself audible at all. And it's also helped with this very good 8-speed automatic gearbox. It's very similar to the one you get in the Jaguar, but in the BMW it's just a little bit sharper. The changes are a little bit more, bit quicker, a bit more precise. It's good, I like it.
I can tell after that monologue. So come on, you're talking about, adaptive dampers and sportiness and involving driving, but at the end of the day, these are family cars, aren't they?
Yes.
So it does matter that they're comfortable, nice places to be, and it certainly is from where I'm sitting. But what about MPG? How's it doing on fuel economy?
Well, BMW claim that this should be doing 54 MPG. Now, if I check my trip computer, we're doing around 38, 39. But I've been driving this car for a little while now, and I have seen it get up to about 41. So, I mean, it's okay. It's one of the better cars that we've got here for fuel economy. And like I said, it's got the smoothest engine, it's the quietest, and it's still very good fun to drive. The X3 may be old, but it's still a very good car.
An oldie, but a goodie.
Much like you.
He's so cheeky. Pull over now, I'm getting out.
So the BMW is good fun to drive, and it has the best engine out of the 4. But what's the Mercedes like?
The simple answer is lovely.
We're going to need a little bit more than that, Ginny. It is a car review after all.
I know, the problem is it's just such a relaxing car to drive though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's very relaxing.
I'm really chilled out here. Yes, so while the BMW without a doubt has the best engine, this is, as I've said, the most relaxing to drive. The steering is light, there's great visibility, and it just has the best ride comfort. Now this is, of course, has also got the air suspension, which is just a thing of beauty, isn't it? You are just wafting along the road, you know, lumps, bumps, what are they? Do they even exist?
But you don't, if you're on a budget, don't fret, because you don't actually need it, do you?
It just ramps it up to another level, that's all. Now there's only one gearbox, that's the 9-speed auto, and again it's really very, very good indeed. And along with this sort of lovely plush interior, it just feels the most luxurious, the most cosseting out of the four of them.
Yes, but there is one small problem though, isn't there?
Yes, and it lies.
And it lies up there, doesn't it?
It does.
It's the engine.
Exactly. Can we not talk about that?
Yeah, well, I'm sorry. It's got to be a balanced review.
It is. It's got that old Mercedes 2.1 litre engine, and it's just a little bit rough.
Yeah, it is.
You know, we've got the GLC 220D here, so it's got 168 brake horsepower, but the 250D is definitely better. You get a bit more, 201 brake, and with that extra hour, just comes a bit more oomph. It just feels a little bit more eager.
It's not quite so stressed.
Yeah,
so
it's not.
yeah.
And it's pretty frugal too. Mercedes claim 56.5 miles to the gallon. You know, you're likely to get in the low 40s. Not bad. I've seen as much as 42 miles to the gallon.
Yeah, it's not too
so
bad.
It's really amongst the best of all the cars here.
Yes. Mercedes, we should point out that they also sell you an AMG 43 with a 3-litre twin-turbo V6 petrol engine. Very nice, makes lovely noises. Yet, even with that engine, the GLC still isn't particularly sporty to drive there, is it?
No.
And that's the biggest failing of this car, isn't it?
It is. If that's what you're after, this is not as involving to drive as either the BMW or the Jaguar.
No.
Personally, and I think many people out there who spend a lot of time in the car, do a lot of long distances, will agree with me. I will go for wafty, comforting, cosseting, a car that will get you from A to B in comfort every time.
You like being cosseted then?
I'm quite fond of some cosseting every now and again, yeah.
Conclusion? Well, the Mercedes is the most comfortable and relaxing to drive, but not that much fun. Surely the Jaguar is going to improve on this.
Well, somebody's got a smile on their face.
I know, wow. You'll remember that last time we had this car, I wasn't allowed to drive it. You stole the keys. But I can understand why you stole the keys, because this is very good, isn't it?
It was a lady's prerogative, what can I say? And it was worth stealing the keys for. It's good, isn't it?
It is good. It's the X3 is good, but this is on a different level in terms of driver involvement. The steering on this car is so sharp, it's so quick, and there's a lot of feedback through it as well. I know exactly what's going on with the front wheels. Another thing with the F-Pace is that you sit a little bit lower than you do in the other cars, and with this high centre console you just feel a little bit more sporty, and I've got the perfect driving position here as well, and it just makes this car fantastic fun to drive.
It's just a really involving car. You feel part of it, don't you?
You do, yeah.
What do you think of the 2-litre engine? From my point of view, sitting here in the passenger seat, I'm far more conscious of noise than I was certainly in the X3, which is just a very, refined, quiet, smooth experience.
Yes.
I'm not saying it's not fun, but it's a noisier.
In isolation, if you test drove this car by itself, you'd think this 2-litre diesel engine is absolutely fine. But with the benefit of testing these cars back to back, it's easy to discover that BMW's got the smoother engine. It's less gruff than this. This is a little bit rough around the edges, especially at idle. And this car is kicking up more road noise.
Yeah.
You can just hear that coming through the cabin, can't you?
You can.
It's not a huge problem. It's just interesting to note that it isn't perfect, is it?
Okay, so it's a tiny bit rough around the edges. What about fuel economy?
Well, it's actually quite good. Jaguar claim in the high 40s, which you're never going to get that, as we discovered in the BMW and the Mercedes, etc., etc. But this, we're averaging around 41, which isn't too bad, really.
There is one slight imperfection on this car that does drive me absolutely mad, and it's the position of the window controls.
Oh, I know.
Don't get you started.
No, well, look, you're coming up to a ticket barrier in a car park, you want to wind down the window, and all of a sudden, you slide into the Ginny Buckley driving position, which is, look at this, the wheel down. I feel like a mouse, Ginny. Look at this.
What can I say?
How do you drive like this?
Batch, I'm just petite and small.
That's one word for it, yes.
You know.
But in all seriousness, though, Jaguar, there's a packaging fault here. I've got to put this steering back in the right position. It's ridiculous.
Steady on, I'm getting worried now.
But it is a packaging fault. They've put the window switches where you'd expect the memory seat buttons to be, and vice versa. So it's a case of them not really thinking about the practicality of this car as well as they should have been, really.
So the Jag isn't the most fuel efficient, but it does make up for this by being the most fun to drive. Last but not least, it's the Land Rover.
Okay, final car, Ginny. Both the Jaguar and this Land Rover are built by the same company, so surely this feels the same as the Jag.
You might think so, but no. They feel completely different.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, don't forget that when it comes to the F-Pace, it's probably got more in common with the F-Type when it comes to, you know, all its underpinnings and all its parts than it has anything from the Land Rover stable, and it really feels like that. This has got a completely different platform. And go for the automatic gearbox and you get 9 gears as opposed to Jaguar's 8. And just the way it drives feels really different too.
In what way?
The steering is sharp, but I just can't feel what the wheels are doing in the same way that I would in the Jaguar or in the BMW for that matter.
Yeah.
And you know, for some reason, it just feels the biggest car here behind the wheel when you're out on the road, even though it's actually one of the smallest.
It feels quite wide, but it is in actual size terms. Yeah, you're right. It's quite small out of the 4 cars.
I think what it is, it's just not as involving to drive as some of the others. You feel more like you're driving it as opposed to you're part of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, so what do you think to this 2-litre engine then?
Okay, that is one of the stumbling blocks for the car. Now look, whilst it's quieter definitely than the same engine in the F-Pace, which is a bit remarkable really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Definitely quieter. This is heavier than the other cars here, so the engine does have to work hard. And you know, there isn't even a 3-litre version to fall back on. So
it is quite considerably heavier actually, and you can just feel that. I can hear that when you put your foot down. It just takes a little bit more momentum to get going.
Yeah. It's just not as sharp going into the corners.
No.
It just doesn't hold the road as well.
But having said that, it is a Land Rover after all. It's not a Jaguar, and it's quite good that the two feel different. One thing I do remember about this though is that fuel economy isn't very good.
Yeah, absolutely. Land Rover will say around 45 miles to the gallon.
It's good.
Oh, we're getting 29.3.
Oh,
ouch!
Dear, 29.
Yeah. The best.
That's terrible.
Yeah, the best I've seen from this is around 33, and that I'm afraid
that's not very good.
is the price that you pay for the practicality of having those 2 extra seats.
So the Discovery Sport is the least efficient of all the cars here and feels quite big on the road, but it is extremely comfortable and quiet. It's also the best when the going gets tough.
Ah yes, speaking of which, let's briefly talk about how these cars perform off-road. The F-Pace gets Jaguar's all-surface progress control that finds extra traction on wet roads, while the X3 gets hill descent control as standard. The GLC Sport comes with an off-road package for £495 that brings a 20mm raise in the suspension, a wider range of driving modes, downhill speed control and a sportier front bumper. But it's the Land Rover that should be your choice if you regularly travel on tricky surfaces, as its terrain response system can adapt the 4-wheel drive's traction control to suit different conditions. It also has the best ground clearance of all the cars here, the shortest front and rear overhangs to tackle steep slopes, and it has a wading depth of 600mm. So there we have it then, the 4 best premium small SUVs on sale. In all honesty, you'd be very happy with any of these 4, and each one has its plus points and its bad points.
But if we have to give these cars a ranking, 4th would go to the BMW. It has the strongest engine, the best interior quality, and it's good fun to drive.
But it looks a little dated inside and out, and it doesn't have that special redeeming feature to make it a winner.
3rd goes to the Land Rover Discovery Sport. Yes, it may be the best off-road, have that desirable badge on the front, and have the extra practicality of 7 seats.
But it guzzles diesel, and some of the interior plastics are a bit poor.
2nd goes to the Mercedes GLC. It feels well made, it looks smart, the interior feels special, and it definitely has the best ride comfort.
However, it's not that involving to drive, and it suffers from the same problem as the Land Rover in having a long and very expensive options list. Which leaves one winner, the Jaguar.
Its engine may not be the most refined, but its beautiful looks and its driving capability means that it's our top choice. It's not perfect, but it does have that all-important wow factor. Click the video windows for in-depth reviews of each of these cars. Click the play icon for our latest video, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel.